to Iron Chef America Battle of the Masters. The chairman of America's Gourmet Academy is a man of many moves, a man of wealth and taste, who speaks often about the mental discipline required for both the martial arts and the culinary arts. Today, it's Battle Spiny Lobster, and the chairman has pitted Iron Chefs Mario Batali and Matsuharu Morimoto against one another here in Kitchen Stadium. To find out who will taste and judge all their wondrous lobster creations, let's go to my colleague Kevin Brosh on the floor.
Thanks, Alton. Konbanwa. Good evening, everyone. I'm here at the judges' table with a man you'll most certainly recognize as Jay Peterman from Seinfeld. Welcome, John O'Hurley. She plays Julie Cooper, a woman with a lust for life, among other things, on the OC. A woman who knows what she likes, Melinda Clark. Finally, we have a powerhouse chef, and he's become a defining force in modern American food. Chef Kerry Simon.
Thanks, Kevin. The action continues, and Morimoto is working feverishly to remove the meat from some truly beautiful spiny lobsters.
Mario, how are you faring?
I'm a lucky man.
He's a lucky man. I would take that as a good sign. We have some sun-dried tomatoes in olive oil there?
Actually, that's just tomato paste.
It's just tomato paste, okay.
And the olive oil is actually pork fat.
So I was wrong on both counts. So what do we have going on in here,
This
sir?
is the basis of our pea soup.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm wondering how pea soup and spiny lobsters are going together. That's a Chef Batali mystery still to be resolved.
We've just heard from the translator for Morimoto. After 15 minutes of this kitchen battle, he's a bit concerned about things. We're not sure what's getting to him. Maybe it's the new kitchen, maybe it's some of the ingredients, maybe it's just the jet lag. Who knows?
You know, the man is a professional. He's going to bring this out, no question about it. But I would definitely stay out of his way, Kevin.
I've seen the knives in this place,
yeah.
And you've warned me about them all week.
Yeah, if he's got the knife in his hand, just give him clear berth. So I noticed that over on the American side, Mario is definitely working on a filling with part of that, and we can only assume that that is for the cannoli that he is, or the faux cannoli that he's going to be making out of the potatoes.
Alton?
Yes.
I think you're seeing a shot right now of the Japanese kitchen. Are these fish flakes?
That could be fresh bonito flakes. I did not see them shave any down, though, although I did see that they had a greater.
It sounds like a fish stock is being prepared for something to come later.
You know, bonito flakes are kind of like that, along with kelp, makes dashi, which is like chicken stock in a Japanese kitchen. It's used as a flavor base and a liquid base for a wide range of different dishes. There he's got some kelp. I'm thinking that's wakame. I think it's how it's pronounced. Maybe you should just go in there and ask him. I'm sure he'll be friendly about it.
Sir? Kombu. It's kombu, Alton.
Oh, kombu. I'm sorry. Didn't recognize it. I've only seen that in its dry form.
It's quite large. I can't imagine swimming through that.
Kombu is one of the ingredients that's usually combined with bonito flakes to make dashi, the stock that's used so often there. And then they also use it exactly as Chef Morimoto is, as a wrapper. It's strong enough, has enough connective tissue in it to stand up to that. A lot of chefs say that they like it because it contains glutamic acid, which is a flavor derivative similar to that of MSG. So very often it's used in cooking where it's just kind of sliced open in a few places to get that flavor out. Okay, he's almost making himself a little burrito, so to speak, out of the kombu, that kelp being wrapped around the lobster. There is a lot of things that he could do with it at this point. Odds are very, very good that he's going to cook it in such a way as to get flavor from that kelp into the lobster, but then he'll probably discard it. You very, very rarely see kombu used in big pieces like that in cooking. It's just too strong. The skewers that Chef Morimoto has carefully inserted into those lobster tails will help keep them straight when they cook. You know, they have a tendency to curl up, and the skewers will prevent that.
Now, I'm not sure if that same lobster, Alton, was actually dipped in the ice water, but there was cognac added to that ice water earlier, maybe to give it some extra flavor.
Kombu, kelp, and cognac will begin to define what Chef Morimoto is doing with that lobster. And speaking of defining Morimoto, let's see what one of his past rivals has to say about the man known as Iron Chef Japanese. Iron Chef Bobby Flay has tangled head-to-head with Morimoto in battles past. In your experience, what makes Morimoto such a fierce competitor?
Oh, he's sort of stealthy in a sense. You don't know what he's up to, but it always winds up being something that we've never seen before, which is always a good thing for Morimoto. His food is crisp, it's clean, it's exciting, it's flavorful, and there's always a surprise at the last minute, that's for sure.
Yeah, do you feel, when you've competed with him in the past, do you feel like kind of messed with you? Is he a head games kind of guy?
I think he plays head games with himself, because you can't really tell what's going on. With Morimoto, I mean, there's a lot of action, a lot of speed, lots of stuff happening, but I can't really tell what's going on. So, but I'm sure something great will happen at the last minute.
You were going to whisper something into Mario's ear right now to give him an edge. What would it be?
Hurry up.
Hurry up! Yeah,
the clock is
hurry up
ticking,
indeed.
Sure.
Can I interject there, Alton? We have some really interesting stuff happening here behind Mario with Anne, the sous chef. She's actually using scissors to open up the sea urchins, and they're going to be using those, they're prepping them for a soup that's being made.
And I would say, judging from her hairstyle, that she's tangled with this kind of critter before. You know, stay in there, because, you know, what she's going to have to harvest out of there, you know, when we crack open sea urchins, we're really just looking for the roe sacks, the eggs that are in there. And I've got no idea what you would do with the rest of what she's straining out there.
Now, over in the Japanese kitchen, Alton, we have some interesting stuff. There's a blend being made. It sounds like it's shrimp, lobster, the white mountain potato, and it's actually going to be created into a noodle, if you can believe that.
Kevin, I can believe just about anything when it comes to white mountain potatoes. They have kind of a gooey texture when they're pureed, and if you add just a little bit of egg, it can all act kind of like a glue to bind ingredients. So it seems to be perfect for making noodles. Well, I'm going to go back over to these sea urchins for a second, because they're a real challenge to harvest, either here in the States on the Pacific coast or Japan, because typically, to be considered truly edible, you've got to have at least, I think it's 3 days of calm water, supposedly, before you can harvest them, or they won't taste right.
Well, I should probably go up and get some words from our judges and find out what they think of this battle right now.
Since they've got a pretty unique bird's eye view of Kitchen Stadium, I'd love to know what they're thinking.
Hello, Melinda.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very concerned about this sea urchin.
Are you?
Honestly, it's you know, traditionally I've only tried it in the sushi restaurants, and it wasn't necessarily one of my favorites, but I'm fascinated to see what the result will be. I'm also fascinated by the speed in which they're working, and is that a normal speed on a regular night in a restaurant?
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's a different focus here. I mean, these guys are working like with an unspoken communication with everybody. It's like they know each other so well that they just seem to go off and do what they have to do. So it's like they're just working so focused and under so much pressure that they just go forward.
You're impressed by both teams here tonight?
Well, they know the clock's ticking and it's only an hour, and so you're just hoping you're going to get across the finish line with everything done. I think that's the kind of like the whole point of it.
Hey, let's get close up on Chef Batali, it looks like he's rolling up those little cannelloni out of the blanched potato pieces. And I think it's got pancetta and certainly some lobster in the filling.
Okay, so in the Japanese kitchen, Alton, we're making some lobster puree right now.
So that they've actually cut up the lobster meat, or pushing it through what's called a tammy, at least what we would call it here in the United States, to very, very, very finely, you know, turn that into a light mousse component.
Now, in Kitchen America, in my very own personal fear factor, or more likely the chef's personal fear factor, you know the little sea urchin bowls that we had here? They're actually going to be serving the soup in it, from what I understand.
20 minutes to go.
Spiny lobster is taking shape in a number of dishes. Don't know what Morimoto has planned for that mixture. We've seen him preparing those lobsters in kombu kelp wraps, while Chef Batali has pea soup underway. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's destined for those emerging sea urchin bowls. But we'll find out when we return to Kitchen Stadium for Iron Chef America Battle of the Masters. Welcome back to Kitchen Stadium. We're past the midway point for Battle Spiny Lobster, and if there's a theme emerging here, it's all about wrapping up lobsters. Lobster has found its way into Chef Morimoto's lush green pieces of konbu kelp, while lobster is being rolled into thinly sliced potato strips for Chef Batali's cannelloni. Meanwhile, Chef Morimoto has been working on a mixture with a soy milk base. Because it's certainly healthier, and probably in a cooking environment acts very, very differently. He's also loaded his mouth with a CO2 canister, which most of us recognize from our BB gun days. I can only hope that he's going to take it out of his mouth before using it. Don't try this at home, kids. So before the battle began, here's what each chef had to say about his competitor's style and technique.
Morimoto is a formidable opponent. He's together, he's smart, he's young, he looks hip. I've eaten at his restaurant in Philadelphia, Morimoto, which is, it's a spectacular restaurant with spectacular food. So, you know, I'm nervous.
He's really familiar on TV. You know, bum, bum, da, 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 da. I really like his theme song. So he's very talented. He's a nice guy, always smiling. So I think he's a really good chef. I approve of his style.
So word from my sources on the floor is that Chef Batali is moving along with a lobster saltimbocca. Now, most people are familiar with the traditional saltimbocca romana, made with a thin scallop of veal, fresh sage, and then covered with a slice of prosciutto. Now, the whole thing is usually held together with a toothpick and fried in butter. Then it's served with a pan gravy made with marsala wine. Now, this is Chef Batali's variation on that theme, using lobster instead of veal. So Morimoto has loaded up his soy milk lobster combination in basically a seltzer bottle, a bar bottle. So he's going to whip that up. He's going to make a froth out of it, or like whipped cream.
They say it's going to be very foamy. That's the best I can work right now with the...
Well, it's definitely not going to be the stuff inside a Twinkie, I'll tell you that.
I haven't found the chocolate icing yet, though. I'm still looking for that.
Looks like a mayonnaise might also be being made over here on the American side of things, as our sous chef is very slowly pouring what I think to be extra virgin olive oil into a food processor with the paste already in it.
Alton?
Yes?
We have some noodles about to be made over here in the Japanese kitchen.
We knew that they were going to be making their own pasta base.
It's almost like in an icing bag, it looks like.
In a replay, we see that Chef Morimoto got a bit of his own mix shot back in his face there. He had put lobster meat, Japanese white mountain potato, and egg into that blender to create the pasta base. Looks like it's going straight into the pan. He's making funnel cakes. He's making lobster funnel cakes.
It is going straight in there, Alton. You're completely right on that.
So he's basically making pasta out of this. He's become a noodle extruder. Kind of like that Play-Doh factory you used to play with when you were a kid. Just push the handle and squeeze it right out. So definitely Morimoto is making noodles. He's cooking them very, very quickly. And I can't really tell what the liquid is. I've missed that. Looks like a
kelp stock. Okay, so the noodles, Alton, are actually being cooked in a kelp stock.
In kelp stock. He's got it at a bare simmer, and then he's getting them out fast into an ice bath to stop the cooking. Makes plenty of sense. I got to catch up with the American side over here. Looks like they're cutting up hearts of palm, and I think that's fresh, which is something you don't see very often, except in Florida. Yeah. You know, hearts of palm come out of the cabbage palm, which is the state tree of Florida, and generally Florida is the only place where you see them fresh. The rest of us usually get them canned.
So Alton, Ann is actually doing something really interesting here with pot au choux. She's dicing lobster and adding it into the mixer.
Okay, pot au choux, of course, is one of the world's great dough mixtures. It's a steam leavened dough that most of us are familiar with from having cream puffs and eclairs and whatnot. It's got a huge advantage in that it can be flavored by adding almost anything to it.
Actually, Alton, they're going to be deep fried. Ann tells me they're going to be like a little savory donuts.
That's right, like a little savory donut. Sounds good. But I think what you're referring to, Kevin, is what Italians call the zeffole, which is a very light fritter. So there's actually a lot of great food philosophy going on with Morimoto. You know, he's made these noodles out of the soy milk and the lobster, and he's cooking them in a broth that is essentially the essence of the sea. It's a kelp based broth, and so he's literally going to be able to infuse the flavor of the ocean right back into those noodles. It's going to be a fascinating flavor. Chef Batali setting some things on fire. Fire marshal standing by. In the replay, we can see Chef Batali adding some marsala wine to that pan, and that's the alcohol burning off. And this will most certainly be part of his sauce for that lobster saltimbocca. I almost think I see Morimoto smiling about his noodles. He must finally be pleased with the way things are turning out in the new kitchen stadium. He is. He's smiling.
He is. Things are picking up. He's quite happy with the noodles. I think we're going to be very impressed with these dishes.
There's a new development in the Japanese kitchen. One of Morimoto's sous chefs is pan frying some spiny lobster tails. And we'll have to follow that to see what they continue to add. And now I see that Chef Batali is adding mushrooms that he cooked in that marsala wine. All part of his lobster saltimbocca, to be sure. By the way, saltimbocca means jump in the mouth because it tastes so good. And I would say that's going to apply here as well.
You're working on the 5 plates of medallions? Right, Mark? That's what I need next.
Ooh, sweetbreads have come out and are going into a pan over on the American side. Looks like The sous chef is sorting those through, tearing them up. Those look like those are neck sweetbreads, taken from the thymus glands of the cat.
Alton, I found out a bit more about those. Mark is going to dip them in flour, deep fry them, and serve them with the hearts of palm and some black truffle.
Excellent. Okay, Morimoto's brought out a lot of herbs. Try to get over there and find out what he's got working there, Kevin.
I will, and as I'm doing that, I've noticed that Anne, to match that, has pulled out the cappuccino maker.
Well,
it looks like she's steaming some milk
it's
there.
war. When the Italians break out the espresso cappuccino maker, you know that somebody's getting serious. Maybe she's just starting to feel a little tired and needs a pick-me-up. There are only about 8 minutes left in this competition, and the artistry of Chef Morimoto is evident as his plating begins. There's some of the lobster meat, it seems, going down next to his new noodles. Where does he get all those beautiful plates?
You got chives for me, sister? And you got a sheep and not a parsley, right?
Chef Batali giving a stir to his pea soup. I'm told he has added small pieces of the lobster meat to that mixture.
Alton has been garnished with grated garlic and miyaga, which is, I guess, a Japanese aromatic.
I also see scallions mixed with that miyoga ginger, which in Japanese cuisine is typically shredded into a garnish for sashimi, salads, and soups. Okay, and it looks like the tempura is hitting the fat, hot fat. I'll be really curious to see if they're going to serve daikon or any grated daikon alongside that. It's very typical accompaniment to tempura because it supposedly helps aid digestion. So I noticed that over on the American side, her donuts are going down. I'm hoping to score one of those before the day is over.
Maybe that's the only thing we are going to get to eat here, Alton, in Kitchen Stadium.
I don't know. It's a donut. The crew will get to them first. Trust me.
That's true.
This is a union town. Believe me, those things are gone.
10 minutes to go.
Well, the Masters will continue to battle it out when Iron Chef America returns. Stadium America. The question today is, how beautiful can lobster be? Well, let me count the ways. Chef Morimoto has been working on fresh lobster noodles that are being cooked in a kelp broth. Chef Batali has been working on a dramatic lobster saltimbocca with mushrooms cooked in marsala wine. He's also had his sous chefs working up a fritter of sorts called a zipole. These are also filled with lobster. Kevin, what do you see from your vantage point on the floor?
Things are going well here, Alton, with Chef Morimoto. Seems very pleased right now. As Chef Batali was doing moments ago, I think we're going to get good offerings from both sides here in Kitchen Stadium.
Excellent.
Alton, we're getting ready to plate here in the Japanese kitchen. Morimoto, the timer went off on the rice machine. We're going to see one of the dishes being created right now.
I want to know what Chef Morimoto is he just rinsing rice and adding it back into his soup stock?
5 minutes to go.
Okay, so he's adding that to his soup, which he's got an enameled vessel right there on the cooktop. A very Japanese procedure, not something you see very often in the United States. We could certainly learn from that. I know I am.
And of course, we have more frying going on, Alton, in the Japanese kitchen.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. Here at the end, you would definitely want to hold your frying off until the last. Tempura especially will get soggy if it's left out in the air very long. And although I'm not familiar with the zipole that they're making on the American side, I can only assume they are best when served warm.
Alton, we have Mark is doing a plated lobster carpaccio.
I guess you could call that a carpaccio, Kevin, but with that fine chop of tuna we saw earlier in Chef Batali's kitchen, I'd say this is destined to be another variation on a traditional veal dish. In this case, vitello tonnato, a kind of veal with a tuna sauce. And I did see Batali's troops making an aioli earlier, a garlic mayonnaise that may end up on this plate. The chairman is in motion.
He is. He's walking over towards the judges' stand.
Well, I've got to look at his chair, and if I had to sit in that for an entire hour, I'd have to get up and stretch my legs, too. Over on the American side of the equation, they're going to top their carpaccio with that tonnato sauce. So this is definitely a tonnato. Morimoto's plating something really fascinating over here. He's actually filling these little glasses with the lobster mousse. Fascinating. And he's broken out a can of caviar.
I want to know, Alton, would you slam that back as a shooter, or is that something you're going to eat with a spoon?
Well, only if he pours a good portion of sake in there along with it would I throw it back like a shooter.
That might be a great accompaniment.
That caviar, if I'm not mistaken from this view, I think that's a Cetra caviar from a Cetra sturgeon. It's generally lighter in color than the rare beluga caviar, which is, of course, an endangered fish. And there's a lot of texture going on there. You have the caviar mixed with the crunchiness of the cucumber bed that it's sitting on, and then you'll hit the smoothness of that lobster mousse. And remember, that mousse started life as a sort of mash of lobster that was being forced through the screen of the Tammy. We saw it earlier.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby.
Oh, look, the soup is actually going into the sea urchins over on the American side. I hope they have spoons that are spine safe.
Alton, we have some bamboo leaves over here in the Japanese kitchen. We don't know exactly what they're going to be used for yet, but there is some sashimi out here as well. So,
well, I imagine he's going to use them strictly as garnish or as a serving platform. As far as I know, you don't eat them unless you're a panda.
So we have several finished dishes here in Chef Mario Batali's kitchen.
Give me the rundown, Kevin.
We have some beautiful foam that's going on top of the sea urchin cups with our soup inside.
So basically, he's making cappuccino, only he's doing it with sea urchins.
It's a flavor I haven't seen in many coffee joints.
What else do we have over there? What is he grating right now? Is that Batarga?
Mark?
What?
No, what is it?
Lobster roe.
Lobster roe. Well, that's pretty rare stuff, Kevin. They're really fortunate to have that on hand. And there we see that pan-fried lobster in Morimoto's kitchen. They're now adding what looks to be some peanut oil. Hey, Kevin, what's happening with Chef Batali?
And Mario's just pulled out the cannelloni, the thinly cut potato cannelloni.
And the fresh wasabi is finally coming into play over there as well. Chef Batali has plated some of those dipole. Kids, we've got less than 3 minutes left here at Kitchen Stadium. And there is a lot of urgency in the kitchen as people move very quickly to finish up their dishes. Sweetbreads, it seems, are coming up. And now there's the first lobster saltimbocca hitting the plate.
So we definitely can see at least 5 dishes being prepared by Chef Batali.
5 dishes being plated by Chef Batali.
Currently, we have 3 finished in Chef
dishes
Morimoto's
over
kitchen.
in Chef Morimoto's kitchen, and there are just over 2 minutes left in this competition here in our brand new Kitchen Stadium.
And I can count 2 more dishes, so I think we will have 5 from Chef Morimoto as well. It will be a 5 on 5.
Chef Morimoto is clear on 5. We've got the mousse, the noodles, the wrap, the tempura, and what's the 5th?
And we have the rocks out. We have the hot rocks out, Alton, right now.
There are the rocks right there. Chef Morimoto's got some big mix. He's adding that into a really big pot of Japanese design. I can't tell if that's enameled or not, although it looks like it from here. That's the completed lobster saltimbocca. Those are fried sweetbreads and the fresh hearts of palm we saw being prepared earlier.
Alton?
Yes. Intel, please.
It's big fun right here. Into that red enamel pot, we also have some tea leaves and some sake going in as well.
1 minute to go.
Okay, so basically, Chef Morimoto's got a big pot of rocks, hot rocks. He's added some aromatics in the way of the sake and the tea leaves. He just tossed them in, crazy guy. And now he's going to add his wraps to that. And I imagine he's going to bury them down in those rocks so that they get even heating all the way around. He's going to have to bring it together quickly because we're looking at 45 seconds left in this competition. Whatever they are going to do is going to have to happen very, very quickly. Chef Morimoto running.
Wow, this is the loudest it's been in here. Are you having fun, Alton?
I'm just glad I'm not in the kitchen, Kevin. Less than 30 seconds is the countdown.
Anne's back at the cappuccino maker. I think they're finishing off the last of the soups.
Well, they might need to rev up their foam just a little bit. It's certainly been sitting there for a few minutes, and it may have deflated a little bit.
15 seconds to go.
And the kelp is going into the enameled pots.
Chef Morimoto has just about 8 seconds for those lobster kelp wraps to cook in those very hot rocks. Chef Batali is done plating, making sure everything looks perfect. And it's over. Battle Spiny Lobster is now in the culinary history books. Kevin, any thoughts from the chefs?
How'd it feel? You're smiling.
A lot of work to do.
Yeah, I don't think I really heard a peep from you. Is that how your kitchen always operates?
We do operate a very quiet kitchen. I'm the only one that generally makes noise because that's usually I'm the one doing the least amount of work. Today we divided up pretty evenly, so I had less time to yak and I needed more time to crack.
Chef Morimoto, are you happy?
Yes.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it, folks. Both chefs seem quite pleased. 12 dishes in 60 minutes. I'm tired just thinking about it. All dishes featuring our secret ingredient, spiny lobster. The Iron Chef's striking creations have been plated and are being prepared for the judges. Well, we anxiously and hungrily await the verdict. The battle of Mario Batali versus Morimoto. Iron Chef America will be... Alton Brown here, welcoming you back to Kitchen Stadium, where the spiny lobster battle has just reached its conclusion. Our Iron Chefs, Morimoto and Batali, have each prepared dishes using today's secret ingredient, the aforementioned spiny lobster. Now, before the tasting and judging begin, there are rules here. Handing over to Kevin Brosh.
Thanks, Alton. I hold in my hand the scorecard for Iron Chef America, and very quickly, here is how it works.
Overall taste in the presentations, up to 5 points can be awarded for plating and the designs of the plates, and finally, another 5 points can be awarded for the originality in the use of tonight's special ingredient, spiny lobster.
Chef Morimoto. Hi. What was your theme?
Well, my theme is lobster. Lobster has a mild flavor, so with each dish, I've made something that has both a different texture, and I've defined it with a different flavor. Some of what I've prepared is raw, some of what I've prepared is tempura, and I also have some surprises to reveal.
Let me taste.
Thank you very much.
Bon appetit.
First, this is lobster sashimi. It's blanched, then soaked in ice water and cognac, and it's served with fresh
Wasabi is unlike anything.
So you probably never had the real wasabi. It's very nice, naturally. So the next course is also raw. Chopped lobster mousse with soy milk. And on top is Osetra caviar. The texture on top is crunchy, and on the bottom is smooth.
I've never had a caviar that had that quite almost crunchy texture.
It's the freshness of the caviar. It works well together.
So
Yeah,
I think so.
very much so.
Yeah, nice choice with the soy.
My next dish is medium rare. I took the mousse and made a noodle-like pasta. It's cooked in a soup stock. The lobster is seared. It's not raw. And then on top, I made a very, very hot scallion oil with ginger and garlic.
Was there any lime in here?
No, it's not lime, it's yuzu.
Yeah, it's a nice balance.
I don't think I've ever had noodles that had so much flavor. He infused the lobster.
And the texture of the noodles, too.
Next is tempura with 3 different flavors. First is with lime and salt. The second is served with fresh wasabi aioli. And the last one is an Asian spicy miso.
I really like so far everything I've tasted. I like the way the wasabi works with that one, and the saltiness of the first course.
I don't think I've ever had tempura that had these wonderful sauces. Have you?
Thank you very much.
I think sometimes we have tempura batter and it tastes more like fried chicken, if you know what I mean. It has that kind of... But this has such a gentle, kind of almost a creamy texture to it.
That's why this is Iron Chef. So
These are river stones, and this has a very tender texture. It's lobster tail wrapped in kelp that gently cooks in hot river stones. I add sake and then serve with a sauce made from lobster heads and tails, called a sauce americaine.
That is as tender as lobster gets. That's a wonderful way to cook it. Wow.
Like butter. No, it's amazing. This is so lovely.
I have made up my mind. I'm going to now go out and find every river stone in the San Fernando Valley.
Okay, this is a soup with risotto and eggs. And I marry it with kelp and raw lobster meat, okay?
It's very complex.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that come out after you've tasted it on your palate.
This has one of the strongest flavors that we've had so far. Definite lobster presence.
So you needed something at the end that was really strong in flavor and that would be more explosive.
Yes. This is my main course. This is pan-roasted lobster with an ethnic flavor, a Middle Eastern flavor, with coriander and ginger. It's spicy.
Yeah, there's a lot of scent from it. It's very spicy. Yeah.
Dip it in the creme fraiche on the side.
What's the flavor in the creme fraiche again?
Actually, sugar and then a little bit the honey. Yeah.
It's very adventurous of you first time.
Morimoto, you honor us with this meal. Thank you very much. Fabulous. Thank you. And you've truly shown us again why you are an Iron Chef. Thank you very much. Chef Batali, could you describe to us what your approach was to today's battle?
My approach was to take the ingredient, the spiny lobster, and treat it in a creative way while retaining the integrity of certain classic Italian dishes.
Chef, may we begin?
Yes. This dish is a variation on something called vitello tonato, or veal in a tuna sauce. What we've done is we've taken the lobster, we've steamed it, taken it out of the shell, we've sliced it thin, we've put it on the plate. In addition to that, we've made a tuna tartare, and we've also taken something called botarga. That is a tuna roe, traditional to Sicilian cooking. There's a little bit of saffron sprinkled over the top of the tonato.
So it's very light, it feels very healthy, actually, and you can taste how fresh the lobsters are, too.
This is a sweet pea, rock shrimp, and sea urchin cappuccino. On top of it is frothed milk, and on top of that, to mimic the cocoa that you find in the cappuccino bars here in America, a little dried porcini powder. I took some peas and some lobster and some rock shrimp and some dried shrimp, made a stock out of the milk, caramelized some onions, put the whole thing together, and then zapped it with a processor.
That's such an innovative way to present a dish that makes it, it's like immediately you can't wait to see what's in it.
You could taste the foaminess on the top was nice for it. I like that touch to it.
This is perhaps the most conceptual of the dishes. It is a cannelloni, or 3 of them. Instead of using pasta, we've actually used thin slices of potato that we deep fried at a much lower temperature than normal. Then we took the lobster, cooked it with a little bit of scallions, a little bit of red onions, and rolled that up inside after having mixed it with about 30% ricotta.
So light, so light. And it truly, I mean, this is something that could have gotten out of hand in terms of the weight of it very easily.
Right. I like that a lot. And it's a nice follow-up to the last dish.
Well, this is a lobster saltimbocca. We've taken 2 pieces of the tail. In the middle of the piece is a slice of prosciutto di Parma. Then I dredged it in flour and I sautéed it. Then I created a sauce using an old marsala and these beautiful chiodi mushrooms on top, and then finishing it with a piece of dried sage over the top. Next to it is a salad of fresh hearts of palm, baby arugula, crispy fried sweetbreads, and black truffle.
The sweetbreads are extremely
Very Italian.
light.
Yeah, very earthy.
Yeah. When faced with an absolutely impossible ingredient, I can guarantee you that the best thing to do is wrap it up in something and fry it. And that's exactly what we've done here. We've made a zeppole dough. Into the zeppole dough, we've matched already something that's slightly abnormal, which is roasted corn. There's virtually no sugar in the dough or the batter or the lobster or the corn, so what that does is bring out a little bit of the natural inherent sweetness.
Just visually, it's very deceptive. You'd expect these to be hard as golf balls, and they are as soft as cotton swabs.
No, they're very soft. Yeah, the texture is really, really moist.
These are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Chef Batali,
Yes, sir.
magnificent.
Thank you.
We thank you.
All right.
Well, now the chefs have spoken, and it's time for the judges to have their say when Iron Chef America returns. Today, the masters, Iron Chefs Masaharu Morimoto and Mario Batali, have taken spiny lobster to new levels of culinary inventiveness. The judges have sampled their extraordinary creations, and they have voted. Now, to give us the news of the night, the chairman.
Today, 2 champions met on our glorious kitchen battlefield. But sadly, only one chef can triumph in this battle. And so now I am prepared to hand down our judges' verdict as we all discover, once again, whose cuisine reigns supreme. Today's winning master is Chef Mario Batali.
There are a total of 60 points possible. Iron Chef Batali received 57 points, while Iron Chef Morimoto received 51. In originality, Chef Batali only scored 1 point more than Morimoto. Plating was a dead heat. Taste is where Batali achieved his margin of victory. When you saw the cloth come off of that tank and you saw there was spiny lobster, what was your first thought?
Joy.
Joy, you were cool. You were down with the spiny
Again,
lobster.
having something live is something so good, and it's already given you a step up on making great food.
Because it's fresh, because you are guaranteed, you're not going to have to look at that and say, cheaper.
I wonder where it was. Right.
I wonder where it was. Like your style? For Mario Batali, this conclusion is sweet manna indeed. On behalf of our esteemed chairman, all the Iron Chefs, Kevin Brosh, and everyone here at Kitchen Stadium, until next we meet to see whose cuisine reigns supreme, I'm Alton Brown, bidding you a good night.
Welcome to Iron Chef America.